It's 6:40 now, so I don't know if you want to get started. I guess Mary, your vice chair, if you want to.
Take the gavel, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I just call the meeting to order? You're gonna edit that out, right?
Sure.
This meeting of the Hamilton Historic District Commission is being called to order. It's February 2nd, 2021. And the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the December 1st, 2020 meeting. Pat, do you have those?
Yep. And just before we do that, I'll just ask for a roll call for attendance, just since we're virtual.
Okay. Yep.
Well, I'll say Mary.
Yep, here.
Liz.
Yes.
Kristen.
Here.
Olivia.
Here.
And we are missing Scott Clements and Catherine Middlebusher. So, and yeah, so jumping back to the agenda, yep, the minutes of the December 1st meeting are in your packet. So, anybody any comments on those? You can just let me know.
Yeah, I didn't have any changes.
Yes, I move we accept them as submitted.
I can second that.
All right, let's do a roll call. Mary.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Kristen.
Yes.
And Olivia.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to consider the approval of the First Congregational Church of Hamilton's historic preservation restriction. And there were no changes from what we saw earlier, were there?
So in the packet I sent out, it did have the red line changes. It's pretty much what we discussed. I added some facts in there, mostly off of the history of Town Hall and what I could find on the church's website. Updated dates, changed from Barnstable County to Essex County.
Yay.
I also, one of the suggestions from last meeting was to direct certain provisions to the Hamilton Historic District. I did that, I think, 3 spots in the agreement. I try to take out any kind of extra language, kind of getting too granular on what's allowed or what's not allowed, just at C handbook.
Right.
Make sure it reflects this group's guidelines and kind of allowing for any future changes there, just to be reflected in the handbook. I mean, otherwise, as we mentioned before, the property is really bound by, I mean, they're in the historic district anyways, so they're bound by the rules of the district. It's really just the purpose of the agreements to kind of emphasize that the historic nature of what's being repaired.
The prohibited activities that are in section 2.2, did those come from the contractor that was putting this agreement together, or did they come from the historic district handbook?
They came from KP Law, our attorney, and then that's why I just added the other prohibited. I guess I could also, if you'd like, I could update that just to be activities prohibited in the handbook.
No, I mean, I think you say that there in item F, that's fine.
There's things in that section we don't have jurisdiction over, but they've been put into that. If I'm thinking of the right section, which I have here, but I have to share screen, like the bags of trash or something like that.
It lists prohibited.
That's not in 40C, but it's been put into the agreement with the First Church, which is awesome. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we can certainly leave that in. I'll leave that to you all.
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Right. No transmission lines, no cell towers. Except for temporary structures required for maintenance or rehabilitation of the property, such as construction trailers. And then
Okay.
all other prohibited activities as described in the Hamilton Historic District Handbook. And then in section 3, grantors' conditional rights, you took out, shall follow the design review guide process in accordance to section 2 of the Hamilton Historic Handbook. Okay. Yep.
Yep.
And similar in section 5, item B, the right to maintain and repair the exterior of the building strictly according to the Hamilton Historic District Guidebook. And that looks like it. The address is in here. Yep, and everything else looks like it's the way we saw it, except the dates are changed to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, so if you guys don't have any other changes and do vote to approve, the next steps will be for me to send it over to the church so they can look it over. I don't anticipate them having any issues, or at least any major issues. And then I think I'll try to, I've been looking at some electronic signature options. I'll try to do that to get it to you guys to sign so you don't all have to come in here. So we'll have your approval of the church's approval, and then the Board of Selectmen will approve it as well.
Okay, and is there a copy of the historic handbook that will be attached to this that will reference that? Or, I mean, is that usually how that's done? Or is it just because it's on file with the town?
Yeah, well, so that's actually something I thought about. I was gonna add it as an Exhibit D, but then I thought maybe it would be better just to reference it in case provisions in the handbook were to change.
Yeah.
Do we have a digital version of that uploaded to, because
Yep.
we could just hyperlink also.
Yep, that's true.
And that way it would be updated.
Sure. Okay, I'll add that as an Exhibit D. Just the.
Yeah, it was pretty detailed. I'm not sure we're going to be making too many changes to it, but
Yeah.
Technology could,
probably a good idea. Yeah. Yeah.
new materials or whatever may result in changes over time.
Okay. Does somebody want to move to approve the
I do.
document the way it's
I will.
here?
Move
Okay.
to approve.
I'll second you again, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay. Pat, do you need anything else from us?
I'll just do the roll call one more time. Mary,
Yep. Yep.
Liz,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
and Olivia.
Yes.
Quick question, is a hyperlink such that if there's a PDF on file with the town, that if we then make changes and there's a replacement PDF, that is the one that is now attached to the agreement? Is that what that is?
As long as it's replaced at the same, where it says like www. / whatever. So as long as it has the exact same site name, that's fine. So it has to be an even replacement. It can't be like a addendum.
Okay. I just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let's see what's next. Are we going to get an update from the building committee? Are they coming to the meeting or?
They're not. I'm just gonna give you an update. So as I'm sure you know, or we might have discussed at the last meeting too, the vote failed for the town hall. It passed at town meeting and then failed at the ballot. So right now, the building committee's reconvened. The selectmen reappointed the committee, and they are looking at strategies for moving the project forward. Right now, basically trying to decide whether they want to try it again at annual town meeting or at a future town meeting. The town actually contracted with a communications specialist to help inform the town about the project and just get the right information out there, because that was identified as a weakness in the building committee strategy. Just people didn't really know enough about the project. One other item being looked at is potentially increasing the surcharge for the CPC from 2% to 3%. There's some thought that may be enough to cover the project without having to bond, without having the town having to bond, or taxpayers having to pay for additional debt beyond the CPC. So that's an avenue being looked at. So right now the hope is for the project to go forward at some point. We're just not completely sure.
Was there any consideration of doing it at a time that wasn't in the middle of a pandemic? Because I think a lot of people were really, I mean, you know, I talked to a few people about it, and I think a lot of people were concerned because, you know, everything is pretty uncertain right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they didn't want to, you know, make any big changes or decisions while this is, you know, until this is being resolved. And it is, I mean, it does seem to be getting better. And
Yeah.
I just wonder if they'd have more chance of a positive vote if they had timed it a little differently.
Yeah, that was actually, there was kind of a brainstorming session last week with the committee, and that was something that came up. It's just the timing and the uncertainty. And, yeah, so I think the tough part about that was that the ball is already rolling so fast on that project, and I don't know. I guess maybe in hindsight they probably should have tried to slow it down a little bit, but that's definitely identified as a possible issue.
Do we have a sense of, I don't think I ever knew what kind of the percentages were. Do we have any idea of like what the votes were for and against?
We do have that. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Just like a ballpark?
I want to say it was like 60% no. So it was pretty substantial. Yeah.
But not like unswayable maybe.
No, the total vote count wasn't that high.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that, you know, the people go to, you know, if people feel strongly about it, they'll make an effort to go to that kind of ballot, and people who don't seem to care one way or the other won't show up. So,
yeah,
you know, that if it's a low vote count overall, then, you know, and 60% as opposed to like 80% or something like that, you know, maybe there's hope there.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the hope with hiring the communication specialist is.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah. So.
All right, so the update is that there really isn't an update except that they're going to try and bring it up again. When is the next town meeting scheduled for? Is it April?
May. May 1st.
Okay. That seems soon, but.
Yeah. No, it is. So. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other business before us tonight?
I don't at this time. I guess I can let you know I believe there was one request for a demolition delay waiver, and that was determined that didn't meet the criteria to go in front of the committee. And just so you know, if you're unaware, in the demolition delay bylaw, the first step is for a review from basically me and the chair to determine if it meets the criteria. So far, I think I've had 3 or 4 of those, and none of them have met the criteria. A lot of them are out by Chabaco Lake, kind of older cabins that aren't necessarily of they're before 1940, but they're not necessarily of a historic nature. So other than that, it's been quiet on the historic district front over here.
As we thought it might be over the holidays.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Does anyone
adjourn?
want to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, Kristen. Can I second it?
Olivia, that's your job tonight.
I know, I was about to say, I'll second it.
I don't think I can, so you should. I don't really know the rules very well.
All
Better
the seconds.
brush up. Okay, so
All
I guess
right.
that's it then.
Great. All in favor?
Alrighty,
Bye.
thanks.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
Good night, stay safe.
Well,
Drive carefully.